Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Translating Love with me, Wolfie, and
Danny.
Hello everybody, we are back.
What is that voice?
We're back with a new episode, everybody, and this is exciting.
Is it?
It's Friday and this is a new episode, so yeah, it is exciting. If you're not listening to that episode on a Friday, I'm sorry. It's whatever day it is.
I mean, for us, it's Tuesday.
It feels like an endless Monday.
Really? I think it feels like Tuesday.
Yeah.
How was your day?
Okay. Was okay. Was fine.
That's it.
It was okay. I don't know. I'm tired and
Me too.
exhausted from the weekend. We had a little fallout. Let's just call it like that.
Not the two of us, but
Yeah. And I've been working Saturdays for weeks now, and I have to say I'm looking forward to my free Saturdays again.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's getting kind of annoying.
Yeah, I believe that.
But other than that, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good.
That's good.
Nothing really to add to that. I'm just good.
That's good.
Fine.
That's good. You had a talk with your dad.
I did. It was really nice. We
Yeah.
talked for. My dad's not really like a phone talker.
You
He
talked a
doesn't
long time?
really like talking on the phone, but we talked an hour and a half on the phone. That's
Oh,
like
wow.
record time.
That is pretty long for him.
Usually
yeah.
it's like 45 minutes around there is our usual.
And then he's like, "Oh well, okay.
Welp.
Okay,
Classic Midwestern phrase, welp.
well, I don't have anything to do, but I'm sick and tired of talking to you now."
It's not it.
I mean, not really, basically.
No.
What is our topic today?
Our topic today is like on human nature and like I think more so the negative sides of human nature, but we'll also briefly talk about the good sides of human nature. But like what if those negative sides are things that are like the whole nature versus nurture controversy or whatever you want to call it, debate.
Yeah.
And if those behaviors or those things are like changeable, or if we're destined to be that way, you know?
Yeah. That's an interesting topic, especially with a pandemic going on and so many different views out there and people who somehow go onto the streets and protest the pandemic or the virus. I don't understand. But yeah, and it's kind of interesting because you think like, okay, humanity, you know, we as like on the top of the food chain, as at least that's what we see each other, or like that's how humanity,
how we see ourselves,
right? That we are human beings, or a Homo sapiens sapiens. So like right now, the most evolved species on this planet. But when you look around and look at the wars and pandemics and climate change and stuff like that, you think like, are we really that smart? And are we, or might we just destined to like the dinosaurs?
Are we doomed?
Are we doomed? And either a meteor is hitting Earth and wipes us out, or we.
I mean, or we just continue in the way that we're going and destroy our own planet just by doing what we're doing,
being greedy and and power hungry, and money is everything, and yeah. It's kind of daunting.
But let's just briefly go over, like, because I think I personally struggled with, I mean, it was my idea, but then I really struggled after I had the idea of like defining human nature. Because, I mean, how do you define human nature? Is it things that we're like, that are already within us that we do involuntarily, or things that we're taught? Because I feel like things that we're taught are not really human nature. Because it's nature.
I mean, at this point, I think it is actually, because if you look back in history, like war stuff, I mean, it might be in human nature that the thing is, if you look back, even in like the animal kingdoms, there are wars, not to that extent.
Yeah.
But like pack of wolves have wars, and even like back in like the Stone Age
But I would imagine that a pack of wolves, if they're having a war against another pack of wolves, it's probably over something that they see as actually like threatening to them.
I mean, whereas it could be just territorial.
But that's exactly it. They have
But
their
that's what we do,
territorium,
right?
but
we have borders, and all of a sudden, this one guy steps over the border and war happens. I don't know. I might be wrong, but I think the anger and like the emotion of letting out that thing is part of human nature.
Yeah. I mean, some examples of like human nature that I think are not, they're just always there, are like, so knowledge, for example. We want to learn things. That's in our nature to learn skills, to...
I mean, I would say we have to, up to a certain point.
But that's why it's in our nature. If we didn't, we wouldn't really be living. Yeah.
I mean, we are dependent on someone for the
evolve.
First couple of years,
right?
Until we basically have to learn to,
But you still have to learn. You're even as an infant, you're learning. You have to learn to self-soothe. That's like one of the first things that you teach yourself that nobody can teach you.
That's true.
But so learning and things, our behavior, there are some aspects of behavior that are just in human nature. It's hard to say if all aspects of behavior are human nature.
I think if you look at the more instinctual ones, like fight or flight, like aggression,
sure.
Love, stuff like that, I think is part of human nature. Or laughing is not like super behavioral.
I think that's human nature though, because it's not really,
right.
It's a
Hyenas
reaction.
Laugh.
Yeah, it's a reaction.
Yeah, but stuff like that. I think that's like in human nature.
Yeah, eating is human nature. We have to eat to survive, but something that our species compared to other species is we make kind of an event out of eating.
Yeah.
Where it's not just we're eating for survival. We are eating for survival, but that's not what we're thinking when we're eating. It's not about, I need to survive, therefore I need to eat something. Whereas like a lion needs to survive, and so he goes out and kills a gazelle or something, and they just eat. But we put time into it. We prepare something. We have a meal.
Yeah.
And so it's more of like an event for us than it is for no other species.
When you think about, we maybe should go back to that again. We should look at the food we have in front of us and value it. And
I'm not saying there's no value. I'm just saying we make more of a thing about it than...
But I think the appreciation of food and what it means get lost along the way of industrial farming and stuff like that, where things are available all the time everywhere and to prices where you say, okay, who earns money with that price? And I think at some point we have to go back, and I mean it's happening slowly, but I think we have to go back to a more sustainable, grounded and regional food supply, where we don't ship fruit from all over around the world to, I don't know, a destination where that food would never grow, or maybe only one time a year, only because people are like, I want strawberries in winter, stuff like that. To me, it's outrageous.
Yeah, to me too. The thing is, it's interesting. When I lived, I mean, I won't stay on this topic too long because that's not really the topic, but when I lived in the US, I never thought about that stuff, really. There came a time where I started to think about it more, but for the most part, I never thought about it. I never thought about, this is coming from California and I'm in Wisconsin and whatever. Or I'm eating perfectly ripe strawberries in the winter.
Yeah.
When in Wisconsin they grow in July and August, where it's like it makes no real sense.
Yeah.
But you don't think about it.
I think with a country like the US, it's hard to, like Austria is so small.
There.
Right. Austria is so small. So basically the thing that don't grow here don't grow nowhere in Austria during the winter time, for example. But in America, you have so many climates. So therefore you have oranges around the whole year, or strawberries and stuff like that, because it just grows at certain parts. But I think that, like, consider it like Austria and Europe, for example. Yeah, in Spain, for example, or Turkey, things like that grow too, but we have to ship them over. And it's the same path that the fruit has to go. But for some reason, I don't know, maybe, I think it's becoming more a thing in the US too, I think. But people should just value the food that's actually growing in their region and buy from local farmers and support them, rather than go off to the store and buy strawberries in winter because only they want some. it's so stupid. But let's not go more into that.
Okay. Another thing that all humans do that is human nature, I would consider sex.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, sure, there are exceptions to that, obviously, but I think it is in our nature to procreate. That's the like idea of sex.
Yeah.
And it turned into a pleasure thing, which it should, but it shouldn't just be about procreating.
Yep.
But I think it's in our nature to do that. I don't think it's... What's interesting, though, is that humans are, so again, looking at different species, we're so private about sex.
I mean, yeah, only for the last couple of 100 years, though.
And if you look at other animals in the animal kingdom, they're not. It's not like they go hide off somewhere to do it.
I mean,
we're like the only species that does that.
A lot of people like a lot of people say that the human nature of having sex with only one person is something that got learned over the last hundreds of years,
because it used to be about procreation,
and exactly, and also the sex thing that back then we lived in caves, and there were multiple people and they just fucked around. We are animals, and so a lot of people say it's not our... First of all, it's not normal for us. There are a lot of studies which is really interesting. That it's not normal for us to live so enclosed in their own space and do things like that, like in private, which is kind of weird because if you think about it, having sex in front of, like, in a cave with thousands of people, it would be kind of weird.
Yeah.
But at the same time, animals do it. We are animals. So. Let's go to the negative parts of humanity. I think those are more interesting in terms of why we do certain things and why we seemingly can't move past them or evolve or learn. Do you want to start?
No, you start.
I mean, one of the things is that we view, not all of them, obviously it's not like you do that, but some people view minorities and vulnerable as less, basically. So it's weird because that's something that is kind of taught and learned, but it's a societal thing as well. Like if you think Nazis, for example, or in general, like the German World War, I mean, Hitler wrote things about, Jewish people of being less than humans. And there were things in school books that, kids got taught that there's a great movie about that. It's called Jojo Rabbit, where it's basically the view from a little boy in the Nazi time. But they get taught that Jewish people were like evil demons and all that stuff to make them believe that they're less
sorcerers and stuff.
Yeah, right. And it's still, racism is nothing but it's a concept that certain people, only because of the looks or heritage or whatever, are less than we are or the society I'm living in. And it's so fucking stupid because it's a man-made concept. But
I also think that, you said not everybody thinks that way, which is true, but at the same time I think to an extent everybody does, because even if you personally don't feel that a minority or someone who's more vulnerable is, if you don't feel that way, if you have nothing against them and you see them as human, it's planted into your brain, like you feel bad for them, because you, like, for me, I feel bad for, especially right now after some events have happened, I feel bad for a lot of my trans friends, because I can't imagine what it must feel like. It hurts me to see all of this shit that's happening right now in the US, but I can't imagine what it would feel like to be in their shoes.
Yeah, it's true.
And so we have this, it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that we even have to feel bad in a situation, or these things are happening, they shouldn't be happening in the first place. You should just be able to live your life the way you want to live your life, and it doesn't affect anybody else.
Without judging, right.
I think it affects us all, no matter if you
it's true.
view those people as less than human, as any person as less than human for how they look or what they choose, versus it's constantly there. It's constantly in our society so much that you feel that.
I mean, sure, I think it's a concept of growing up in a certain society, but also media and how they portray certain people in media. For example, after the September 11th incident in New York, a lot of like negativity and hostility got brought towards Arabs and towards Muslims because, you know, they looked a certain way and they fit the profile of what then America said those were the guys who did that. And people who got on the plane, there were multiple incidences where people like Arabs got thrown out of a plane because people were like afraid almost, and yeah, it's insane. And now with the Asian hate and Asian crime in the US, it's the same, literally the same thing, and that's been around for decades.
Yeah.
There have been internment camps in the US with Asian people. It's insane what happened there. And that's I mean, besides all the slavery, but that's something that needs to be worked through and needs to be addressed. And okay, let's just work through that as like a society and say, okay, this was wrong, and we have to, you know, work towards something that never happens again.
Yeah.
Especially with like in schools, I think.
Yeah.
Like where you have to fucking teach children the right. I mean, the thing is, you don't have to teach them. They come to the world and they see everyone as the same. Kids play with each other. Doesn't matter who they look. But at some point, they get taught that, hey, this kid looks different, therefore, blah blah blah.
Yeah. I mean, the classic example of that for me is there was this post that went viral last year or 2 years ago, something like that, where this woman took her daughter to Target, and for some reason she had some sort of like reward where she could pick out any toy she wanted. And her daughter was really into, she's like 4, and she's really into doctors and stuff. So she's wearing her little doctor outfit when they go to the store. And she picks out a doll who is dressed like a doctor. And the doll is African American. The girl is white.
Oh, okay.
And they get to the register, but that's the one she wanted. They get to the register, and the woman at the register asks the little girl, "Are you sure you want this doll? You don't want a doll that looks more like you."
Oh, wow.
Is what she asked her. And the little girl at 4 years old says, "She does look like me. She's pretty and she's a doctor. I'm pretty and I'm a doctor." And it's just, it makes you see exactly in such a short moment how we're not born with that.
No.
We're taught that. And sure, not everybody is taught that, but everybody experiences it. Everybody hears about it. Everybody knows, oh, this person's different. And it's only because it's taught to us.
And the thing is, if you think hard enough, you 100% at some point in your life said things that especially was hostile or even racist.
Absolutely.
Everyone did. Yeah, I did. And I feel really bad still for things I said when I was young and dumb, which is not an excuse, by the way. But call people out, by the way. If you hear something really racist or slightly racist going...
Or even that's not politically correct.
Right, then call people out on their shit.
Well, that actually leads me to the next thing I wanted to address, is that as humans, we're fairly closed-minded. For the capacity of intelligence that we have, we're fairly closed-minded. Yeah. And that can be seen exactly in, think of like when you see any type of like comment section where people are arguing.
Yeah.
It's never, if we were not so closed-minded and if we were rational, the easy and straightforward way to correct somebody saying something incorrect or putting false information out there would be to present them with relevant facts. And they would then look at those facts and accept them or not accept them, whatever, but not continue to at least be open-minded enough to accept that there are other options out there.
I mean, I think a good example for that was the pinky glove that we talked about the last time, and they announced that they shut down the production and take everything from the market, which is cool. But that happened because those people got attacked on the street. They got,
which is the wrong way.
They got hostile messages. They got people basically threatened to kill them. Stuff like that happened. And you think about, okay, they did a shitty thing and the shitstorm was big, but do we really need to send them death threats?
Yeah.
Do we really need to attack them verbally or aggressively on the streets?
Yeah.
That is just so fucking wrong on so many levels. But that exactly shows that.
Well, and then another thing about what you were saying before is that, if you say something wrong, I mean, my best example is the Black Lives Matter movement, and people were posting All Lives Matter, and they didn't understand. Some people just don't understand what the Black Lives Matter movement is or was, or, whenever they were saying things like that. And I was one of those people in the very beginning, and before even really the Black Lives Matter movement of 2020, but in like 2016 or something like that, that was also being said, or 2017, something like that.
I mean, that's been said for a long time.
And but it had like a big wave for a while, and I was one of those people. That was the first time I was like really experiencing it, and I said All Lives Matter, and someone explained it to me, and I was like, oh, got it. I understand why we say that and not this. And if that could happen more often and more frequently, the thing is, people seem to take it so personally. If someone corrects them, they don't take it as a learning experience these days. We take it, and that's again human nature, we take it as it's undermining our sense of intelligence, our sense of identity.
Yeah, right.
Even though it has nothing to do with our identity. And there's been, especially this last year, there has been such a wave of misunderstanding with there's a difference between an opinion and fact.
A duality. Basically, you have people in your family and friends, and everyone experienced that, where you thought they think a certain way, and they think maybe they handle, for example, the pandemic, they handle it the same way. They're careful, they wear masks, they don't question those things, because most scientists say those things. And I mean, come on, we go to the doctor, we get treatments for illnesses because we believe in science. We got to the moon because of science. So, and then all of a sudden you hear something like, those masks, they don't really matter, blah, blah, blah. Or I'm not getting the vaccine, which is totally fine, because I don't believe it's safe, or stuff like that, where millions of people already get vaccinated. And it's like, okay, I mean, it's so weird to me that some people are so exactly that, where you think you know people, and then as things like that happen, and you're like, okay, why are you not able to educate yourself and then talk about it? Because your opinion is still fine, but don't say something that is wrong, or it goes
the problem that's become more and more relevant over the last few years, especially, is when we have an opinion about something. Not everybody, but again, just speaking in general terms of human nature.
Yeah.
Would we believe that our opinions are superior to any other person's opinion, which is often the case?
Yeah.
Our opinion, my opinion, is more important than your opinion because it's my opinion. Therefore, it's my identity, which people seem to really believe. But when we take the standpoint, when we say that my opinion is more superior to yours, that then prevents me, the person saying mine's more superior, prevents me from furthering my knowledge on the subject. Because if I already believe I'm correct, I my opinion means more than yours, I'm not going to go out and look to support my opinion more or to negate it.
The thing is, the opinion became the truth. People can't distinguish between this is my opinion and this is a fact. Because both are fine, but if you voice something that is your opinion and it is wrong, then people can say, hey, I'm sorry, but this is wrong because. And with Trump and other politicians, that stuff just got like thrown over. Because whatever they said, it's fine. And thousands of people know, okay, it's not that way, but we don't care. It's everything I say is the way. And if it's not the way, it is the way. And that brings me to, because we just talked about the trolling or the internet phenomenon where everyone voices their opinion, and you basically have to throw yourself into one of the categories if you believe in it or don't believe in it. And then, of course, you live in your bubble, in your social media bubble, and you get backed up by thousands of people who have the same or similar opinions. And then, of course, that's so easy now that like an opinion becomes reality. And all of a sudden you see all those ads and those articles about, climate change is a hoax or whatever, whatever it is. And of course you start to believing it. And of course it backs up your opinions and your beliefs about the whole thing. And then you start trolling people because they have a different opinion or they believe in something different.
Yeah.
And you don't even acknowledge facts.
And that's the thing that feels so sad to me these days, where nothing's ever really like an actual debate anymore. Yeah. I'm all for a debate, but an intelligent debate, not like based on facts, based on things but then also with understanding with it. If someone clearly proves what I'm saying wrong and can back that up, then I can accept that. And I say, oh, that's a good point. Yeah. But nobody says things like that anymore. No. Nobody says, oh, that's a really good point. Or if I say something offensive and somebody corrects me, I'm not going to fight them on it and say, how could you call me? How could you say I'm offensive? Blah, blah, blah. Instead, I'm going to say, thank you for pointing that out to me. I wasn't aware of that. Yeah. And then you don't fight. And I mean, why do we need to fight all the time?
I think, but that's social media and a lot of, there are a lot of documentaries and articles about the social media and how it will be the fall of democracy. And I believe in that because if there are no systems in place like right now, basically where everyone can post anything, and sure, they're slowly coming those fake news like scanners and stuff like that where they get marked or taken down because they're not true. But anybody can post anything and voice anything, and people find their, messaging boards or whatever where they can talk about stuff that might not be true or might be just bullshit.
Yeah.
And they can and they throw everything aboard that doesn't sound like they want it to sound, even though it might be the right thing, And it's just it's so wrong. And I think that with social media, we lost a lot of that. Let's sit together and talk, even though we don't have the same opinion.
Right.
A lot of people
and it's
don't know how to do
that we
anymore.
don't have the same opinion. Right. It doesn't mean we can't get along. It doesn't mean we can't have a solid relationship.
Yeah.
It just means we don't agree on this, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Something else that's another like more negative human nature thing. It doesn't always have to be negative, but I think it's something that I think with all of these, it's things that you just need to be aware of. They don't always have to be negative just because they're, I don't know. But we are, all of us are hypocrites. All of us. I'm a hypocrite. Sure. You're a hypocrite. Everybody listening is a hypocrite in some way or another. And the thing I found most interesting, this article I read talks about moral hypocrisy and how we're all basically, we're the first ones, everyone is the first one to be the loudest when they see hypocrisy.
Yeah.
But usually the thing that they're calling out as hypocrisy is something that they also do themselves, but for themselves, they don't see it as that. And
I mean, the classic is bullying. I bullied people when I was in school. I was a bully at some point to other people. I got bullied too. And bullies bully, so that's just how it is. Bully people bully, that's just how it is. And online bullying is like the easiest thing nowadays because you just make a fake profile or don't use a real name.
It doesn't, or if you don't know the person, you just use your thing and you're anonymous
and
anyways.
You can basically bully people. And even a small comment under a picture you can bully people with that. And then you see a video where, a poor little child gets bullied and you say, that's so horrible, blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's what I read. The really interesting thing about it there is a study of a phenomenon called actor-observer asymmetry. And I'm just going to read what it says in the article. It says, it describes our tendency to attribute other people's bad deeds, for example, our partner's infidelities, to their character. So it's a character trait of theirs or a flaw, while attributing the same deeds performed by ourselves as due to situational influences. So in their case, our partner does it, it hurts us, and therefore it's a bad character flaw of them. Yeah. It reflects badly on them. But when we did it in our past, it was situational. Oh, there's a reason for it. It was because of this. I did it because of this.
I mean, everybody knows that.
And So basically, it's a double standard. And but it also showed with more research about that, it showed that these acts of acts of rudeness, or like exactly you said, like trolling and whatever, tends to hurt more for some reason when it's committed by a stranger than by somebody you know.
I mean, I can see that, because you think like, oh,
they don't know me.
Right, they don't know me. How can they say something? Or how can they do something like that? Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
With a friend, yeah, sure, it might hurt. Depends on what it is, but you're
more likely to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with a stranger, it's just a constant battle, because you can say whatever you want. But again, these days, it doesn't matter what you say, what your opinion is. It will always be thrown back at you.
I think just an interesting question would be, do you think we are doomed as a society? If you think so, answer with yes. If you don't think so, answer no. But if you're interested in talking about this stuff, just hit us up on our Instagram.
Well, I would ask you before we close out, what do you think that all of these things are really human nature, or do you think that they have become human nature, like they're taught human nature? So we have them within us. We're all capable of all of these things, but
I think the we as human beings, we have been fairly shortly around on this planet, and we have evolved very quickly, and so has like everything else around us. And I think we invented a lot of things, and we also made up a lot of systems that tend to exactly do those stuff. So we have to at some point acknowledge that everything around us is man-made or women-made, whatever, you know what I mean? It's a construct. It's right. It's a construct of human beings. Money, fame, religion, whatever you name, it's human made. Yeah. And I think at some point we have to acknowledge that, and I think we have to step away from those things, because those will eventually destroy human nature. Money, power, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It already does, yeah. And religion, I mean, now it is not as much as anymore, but religion was a huge factor in racism, and is still partly in parts
not
of
just racism, but homophobia and anti-trans,
right.
And all
but
of that.
Wars, like most of every war was like in human history was fought because of religion. And it's just horrible to see that we, at some point, some guy comes up with an idea, hey, let's just do that. And 2,000 years later, they insanely follow that, whatever he said or they said, without even thinking about, okay, maybe did he mean it like this? Or aren't we a little too close-minded or stuff like that? I mean, Bible, for example, yeah, people quote the Bible and then do stuff where like, okay, you quote the Bible and you try to live after the Bible, but if you really read the Bible, you wouldn't do that, like with the weapons in America. A lot of Christians defend that, and then, yeah.
I mean, we don't need to go into theology, but
I think we as human beings are doomed if we don't change in a drastic way.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, all of the quote negative things that we just talked about that are in human nature, I think that a lot of them are taught. However, I also think humans are very moldable. We always say kids are sponges, but I think just humans in general are moldable.
Yeah.
And we also absorb a lot of things. We change our shape. We change our thoughts. Things that we believed 100 years ago, maybe we don't believe today, or have been proven wrong by science or whatever it might be. It's an ever-changing world, and every minute something new is happening. And I think that it's important to remember that when we think about all of these things that we talked about, because first of all, life is short. Do you really want to spend it wasting your energy fighting with some random person on Twitter or wherever,
or having a war with a country,
or do you want to spend it further molding yourself, shaping yourself, learning something new, exploring other opinions,
and maybe impacting other human beings so they'll live a better life?
And I think what we need to do is take all of those quote again negative aspects of human nature and relate them more to the positive, because I think that they can be all positive things.
Yeah.
It's just about how we use them. And I think we talked about knowledge. That's a positive that's in our human nature to want to learn. And if we're constantly fighting people, we're not learning anything. If we're saying my opinion's better than yours, we're not learning anything.
Yeah.
Whereas we could be using that to have maybe a good debate about it and then learn something and take it away. And so I think a lot of those things are taught, but at the same time, they're taught over so much time that they feel like human nature when they don't necessarily
I
have
think they
to
become
be.
at some point.
Exactly,
maybe.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
They become it, but they don't have to be that way. I think it is more nurture than nature.
Yeah. That's it, everybody. Please follow us on Instagram and subscribe to the podcast and share the podcast if you like what you hear. That helps us the most. And other than that, we're back with a new episode next week.
Yep. Bye. Goodbye.